One of the things that has always amazed me is how no dystopia was ever written starting on a college campus. You should put the plot there. There's so many radical and crazy ideas that happen at university. I might have to change that and write that novel. You know, Sarah Silverman at one point said something to the effect of, regarding PC culture, I need to listen to the young, I need to listen to the youth, because the youth typically, mostly, are on the right side of history. And I thought, well, that's sort of true. In the United States, that's been true several times, for sure. We can think of the civil rights movement. I think the youth were on the right side there. And maybe you can think about the Vietnam War. They were on the right side there. But if you take a wider view, worldwide view, the youth have not always been on the right side of history. They were part of the 1979 Iranian Revolution. They were part of Chairman Mao's China. They were some of Hitler's first adherents, the Nazi Party's first adherents, were in fact college students. There are young leaders, such as Assad in Syria. When he came to power, a lot of people thought he was going to bring in a moderate rule there. They were wrong. He was young. Kim Jong-il is young. He's in his 30s. Came to power in his early 30s. You can make a case that the youth are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, because they have the physical vitality to really do some horrible things. The French Revolution wasn't exactly elders. The youth can turn violent very quickly. This leads me to the Oberlin College situation. And if you don't know the story, there was an ice cream shop or some sort of shop by the campus, and an African American went into the shop, was trying to buy wine with a fake ID. The store didn't think it was real, and they also thought this young African American man was trying to steal stuff. So one of the owners of the store chased the kid out, put him in a headlock, called the police, and Oberlin College said this was racial profiling, and the higher-ups in the university, who, here's the thing about the left and the far right, but it happens more on the far left. You know how we always use that slogan, we need to speak truth to power? Well, a lot of the powerful people on the left speak falsehood to the powerless. They start to get students revved up about this bakery, this ice cream shop, whatever it is, and they start to organize the students to protest the bakery, to protest the shop, and, well, guess what the shop does? The shop presses charges against Oberlin College for defamation, for making them appear racist. The African-American kid did plead guilty to stealing, to shoplifting, and it wasn't based on race whatsoever. But when your entire worldview is programmed by race, you see it everywhere, even where it's not. There was a story I read about this shop that some of the kids who still wanted to go there and get the ice cream asked the owners if they could sneak out the back so their other classmates wouldn't see them. That's how bad it got. You know, I read a lot about AI, and I read a lot about, you know, we're so worried about artificial intelligence. I started thinking, no, there's a lot of artificial intelligence in this country. And there's two definitions of artificial, of course, but in this sense, artificial meaning fake intelligence. There's a lot of people walking around who've just been programmed. They've been programmed to think a certain way, and they can use that artificial intelligence. It can mold itself a little bit to certain narrow applications, but it's the worst form of artificial intelligence, is it learns one way to think and then tries to apply it to every circumstance. It's like teaching someone how to swim very well and then taking them to a mountain, and they lay down and they try to swim up the mountain. This is what happens when you program people with the race, to view reality through racism. They try to apply it to everything. It needs to be applied. It needs to be one of your weapons. You need to be able to spot it. You need to have that sort of perception. But you've got to also understand that not everything involves racism. And Oberlin College won the suit and was awarded something like $44 million. And I believe the appeals were rejected. And that should happen. The question is, why do students do it? So we have the elites, the powerful on the left, telling them to do this. Certainly, it's that thing where, again, they speak falsehood to the powerless and use that falsehood to rev them up. Their professors talk to them about the civil rights movement, And they look around, and any young person wants to do something that will help society, and there's no Jim Crow, there's no, severe oppression of African Americans anymore, or homosexuals anymore. It still exists to a certain extent, don't get me wrong, but not to the extent. There's no Pettus Bridge to march across. So they're looking for dragons to slay, and there aren't that many dragons. I call this the Don Quixote generation. They're starting to hallucinate things, and they charge at the windmills, and when they hit the windmills and are knocked off their horse, they still think the windmills were actually dragons. They just got switched right at the end by the media or something like that. They were tricked. The media changed the narrative. At any rate, we can go deeper than that. I've done other videos on that. I think there's an element of boredom. And that's what I'll end on, I guess. The youth in this country are bored because there's not a lot to do. We're wealthy, we're affluent. Even most poor people have a pretty decent life, have enough food. And you have to watch out for the bored. The bored become the bomb throwers in an affluent society. So a lot of energy in the youth. They need something to do. There's a psychological necessity to try to make the world a better place, which is a great impulse. But what if the world's already a better place? What do you do with that energy? Again, you have to make your dragons to slay. You have to create problems in the morning, catastrophes in the morning, so in the evening you can put on your cape and be Superman. It's like Superman, causing structural damage to a bridge at 6 a.m., so at 6 p.m. when it starts to collapse during rush hour, he can fly back and save it. There's a lot of that going on. At any rate, the youth have a lot of vigorous energy that, when applied rightly, can do great things. I mean, think of the young men in World War II, what they did to fight against young men in Germany who were evil. But when there's no evil, the young can easily become evil.